Hello, today I'd like to introduce a new fiber splicing program called Splice Me. The entire program is done in the browser, so it's pretty lightweight and simple to use. Um, I've been testing it for a few weeks now, and it's a really good product and has some good people behind it. They're very attentive to if you have any issues or needs. You can message them, and they'll get a hold of you and help you out. So before I jump in and show you how to use the program, I thought I would show you a finished product of a project that I just got done working on. So this is kind of your opening view, and these are called sheets. Um, and you just double click on the sheet like this, and it takes you in it. And this is where you place your your tubes, I should say, and you splice them together, which we'll get into in the video. I just wanted to show you what a kind of a finished product looks like. And then there's what I think is a nice feature is if you come up here, um, and you say all sheets, bed sheet, it will bring up, and you can see it brings up the entire diagram here. And you can print this out. You can actually add colors to the labels like this. But this is your kind of really pulls it all together when you look at it like this as opposed to in the sheets. They call this the bed sheet, and you can use your browser zoom to zoom in and out to get it a little bit better, but it's probably best and easiest viewed if you just go ahead and save it. You can save it a couple different formats as an SVG or a PDF. And what I like to do, and we'll get into this in the video, is I just save it as a PDF, and then you can take the PDF and drop it into AutoCAD, and then and from there you can pull the objects out, and so you can basically have all this in AutoCAD and play with it. So it's not a static image. These actually import as objects, so you'll have the tables and everything here. So pretty nice. We'll get into that. So let's start at the basics, and then work our way up to something a little more complicated like this. Now, when you first enter the program, this is the screen that you'll initially be presented with. First thing you're going to want to do is start a new project by clicking this, give it a name, hit OK. It's going to create the project for you, and now it hops into the sheets. So for training, I'm just going to pick the first sheet. Once you get rolling on this and kind of knowing how your splices lay out, you may start here or here because you know you're going to have splices coming from this way and this way, or the way I usually do it is I'm building a circuit or something that starts at one end, goes through some areas, and then ends up at some kind of demarc or something like that. So my flow is usually left to right. We can get into those a little bit later. For right now, we're just going to dive in and see how to set things up. So I click the plus, so that activates it. So the sheet isn't activated until you actually push the plus. So if you go that, see how it turns white like that. You can get fancy, and you can change the sheet color if you like, if it's important for one reason or another. But so just so you know, you do have that option. So that coloring doesn't it's only when you see it in that bed sheet. It's so once you get into this, you're back to a regular white color. So first thing to get acquainted with is adding the fiber cable. So we just push plus, and then we come in. He's got this set up, so really it's a little confusing at the beginning, but once you figure out how he has this set up, it's super simple, and then you can build the cable and save it in a library anyway. So let's just take some like a common count fiber. Let's say, for instance, 48 count fiber, and then they want to know how your tubes are. Or I'm sorry, how many strands of fiber within each tube. So we'll say 12 strands. And then, so there's three things you need to do. You need the fiber total, which is, and then this is in module, which I'm not 100% sure what that means, but in my opinion, that's how many strands of fiber within the tube. And then you come down here, and this is for all over across the world. So I only know about United States, and so this is probably the most common color scheme anyways, at least I believe. It's certainly in the United States. So this is your third thing. So once you click that, see, now you're given the tube of fiber, and you have your tubes. So you got your blue, orange, green, brown. So that was what you built up. Then you can, once you have it, you can save it as a cable type. Right here. So you can just call it 48. You can call it really whatever you want. I'm just going to say 48. And then save it. And so now, and it tells you right there. Now, if you would like to say you're just going from pedestal to pedestal, and so it's basically the same cable that you're just splicing out, for example. So it's another 48 cable. So you just push the plus, and instead of building it up like I showed you before, just hit 48, and there you go. And you're all set for the cable. Now the splicing is really simple. And before I get too far ahead of myself, they also have on their website, they have a lot of this is already laid out in what you can do. So a lot of what I'm doing here is I'm just gonna do a video example of following what they say to do. So everything I'm going over is also on there. It's just SpliceME, splice.me/wiki. And one thing that is good is to populate this, at least this information right here, to give it a sheet number, because that will show up in your bed sheet. So it is good to have that information. So we'll call it sheet 1. Then this is up to you, whatever you want. Once you get more complicated, it is good to give yourself, give it names. I mean, it could be this could be Main Street, for example, and maybe this is pedestal 1, PD, something like that. I like to leave as many breadcrumbs as I can. If these things get complicated, it's nice to be able to go back and have that information. And we'll see once we start building out the bed sheets that this number actually populates in the bed sheet, which is nice. Kind of gives you a reference of where you're at. Well, to select the cable, you see how I'm going as I cross it, it gets that blue. So wait till you have the blue line present, and you hit just hit your I guess that would be your left mouse button, and it will select the cable. For splicing, if you want to splice all these together quickly, so it could be once again for like many pedestals, if most things splice through, and then you only are breaking out a couple cables to a splitter or something, maybe the quickest thing to do would be to splice them all together and then go back and reroute these to the splitters and stuff, which we'll get into. But I wanted to, this is an important trick to learn right off the bat. So if you select it, so this one's selected and it's blue, hold down your shift and select the other one. So see how you have both of them selected now? So now on your keyboard, select Control and then Shift and Alt. No, sorry. Control, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Alt, Shift, and C. And it splices all of them together. So that's a quick little thing for you if you want to splice them all together. And then let's say, I don't know, maybe these fibers right here are not spliced for some reason. You just hit them like that. See, now that they're spliced, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that makes sense. And then hit delete, and it will just get rid of those. And then you could break these off to something else, and we'll work on that once we get to a little bit more complicated drawing. But I just wanted to start with the easier stuff and then work our way to a little more complicated information. The next thing that you have available to you is you can put some text in here. Not very much text. In fact, you have to come up with any little abbreviations that are only very, six letters long. So you have to be kind of a little creative, but you could say something like, maybe this is pond 2, and we're in sub-circuit 1 or something like that. There is no, you can't like drag it to fill it. So what a little workaround I do is click in it. You can do Control-Alt, that will select the whole thing. Control-C will copy it, and then you just have to get into each one of them and do it kind of like this. So I'm just doing Control-V. So that's a way to enter it in. I wish there was a quicker way to do that, to maybe drag that down, but it's, as far as I know right now, that's how you have to do it. And as you see, it populated it. It automatically knew that since it was spliced here, it brought it over here. And the cool thing that we'll see is as we work it down the line, that will populate. In fact, let's create a new sheet just so we can see that. So there's no saving. This is all web browser, so it's pushed up to the cloud as soon as you do anything. So you're good to go. You just back arrow. So let's grab another sheet, and then let's click a plus and say we're just continuing on with that 48 count fiber. We'll just grab it right here, and then we'll do this our 48 count fiber example, and then we'll do like the whole cell slice like we did before. So hold your shift. So we got them both. We had them both. Okay, so now they're both connected, and then do the Alt Shift C. So Alt Shift C, and I'll connect them together. And so what I wanted to show you is if we go back to our sheets now. Okay, let's see here. Sometimes, so this is another thing. Sometimes, if it gets kind of a little glitch in the matrix here, just hit your refresh button and it'll pull it down, and so you're back to where you want. It's a little zoomed out. You could use Control and then your mouse wheel and zoom in, or you can do it here to bring it in. This helps you see. It doesn't have like a super zoom. This is as far in as zoom, but it's good enough. So if we want to connect these two cables together, we come over here, see how you got the little circle, and then just drag it over here, and there we go. You made the connection. And what I was going to show you is if you look over here, see the names populated, and so that will continue all the way down the line to till you're done. So that's a nice detail to have. Next thing you can do is see how all this looks together in what they call the bed sheets. So go to Print, All Sheets. Now this gives you a nice overall view of what we just put together. You have this little option for colors, so you can add the colors, which is nice. So this is what I like to do, and maybe we'll do this in another video or at the end of this video, is you can save this to PDF, and then you can import that PDF into AutoCAD and essentially pull out these as objects, and it's as good as an AutoCAD at that point. And you can play around with it. You can delete these lines, you can add text in here. So that is really nice. That's the slightly advanced feature. So we'll get to that, but let's continue on with some of the more entry level stuff. Let's look at a few more options that we can do. So we have another sheet here to choose from. While I'm thinking about it and looking at this, so you can, let's say if you decided you needed to add something in here, if you hit this plus, it will add another sheet in here, and you can see that this just kind of defaulted by breaking the line between. There's no reason why you can't just delete that out of there. And maybe, in fact, let's do that. So let's add some more things in here. Kind of editing. Maybe say we forgot that we had a few things not in between. So we'll just push plus, and that'll bring us to our sheet. You only have 2 columns here, which does make sense, but it keeps things fairly simple. So let's add. I'm gonna do in smaller cables now because it's gonna be easier for demonstration. So we'll do a single tube. So we'll say 12 fibers in total. I'm sorry. One nodule. 12 fibers, module, and then C. So that gives us one 12 count cable essentially. What you can do, so let's first of all let's add this as so it helps as you build these to build your library up. So select it. Sometimes it's a little bit of work to get to select it. Go ahead and save cable type. Oops. It's another thing is if we get a little bouncy on this sometimes. No, we'll say save cable type. You really not careful. Move your mouse around a little bit, it takes you out of this dialog. Okay, so we got 12 and 12 and save. So we got the cable. Let's go ahead and add a few more here. So here's some 12 count. Here's another. You can see now that we gave it a name, it actually put that name here. So you may have different ideas. So you may have the same cable, but want to have a different name for one reason or another, and you could just save it in the library that way. So when it comes in, at least this part has your custom name on it. So that's nice. This one we didn't. This is before we added it to the library, but we can call it whatever we want. So we can say times 12 from the 12 count fiber. So what we can do is once we have it selected with the blue, we can move these around. So once you have it, you can. So say you want this here like that, and then this one up here like that. So you can move things around. That's pretty nice. Next thing you can do is you can add what they call user equipment. So I use it in 2 ways. One, if I just do a 1, it's just going to give you a 1. I kind of use this sometimes as it's more of a label than anything else. But so we could say kind of give it a label, and it would help me separate some things out. So let's do that again. And then let's say this over here is respond to. So it's kind of like a little bit of a text box that you can have. So you don't have a ton of options, which is fine. It's pretty simple. The simplicity is good. So sometimes you gotta do what you can do to get a little customized. Although the other thought is, like I mentioned a little while ago, you can put this in AutoCAD and then you can just go crazy with it. But some of the stuff is just nice to just add the stuff into here for a little housekeeping. If you need little notes to know where you're at, that's what I use it for. The other thing you can do with it is, or what I do with it a lot is, let's say, let's just move this guy over here. like this, and he can come over here too. And let's go ahead and do what we were doing again. We'll do 12, and then we'll say, this. We'll say T. So this is user equipment. So it can be whatever you want. But we could. So if this were the optical light transmitter, we could show it right here, and then we could do like this, and this would be kind of our launching point as it goes, as we move out. So it gives us a little idea I came up with, and then you can go back and see how. So now it's not gonna let you connect this to this. I'm pretty sure. No, it's gonna get upset about that. So, but what you could do is we could come in here and we could add another 12 like that. Now it will let us add to it, so we can just come back and then do this. And then this cable could splice onto something else. So you could imagine this could be a fiber concentration point. It's got a optical light transmitter in it. It's hitting your trunk cable. Your trunk cable's coming out now, and so it's at this point, and maybe you want to start doing some distribution. So you can go over here, and then he does have splitters in here. So you can say one input, and let's say this is like a distribution. So we'll say 4. And build it up like this. Oh, I'm sorry. This will be more like this. So you come into your splitter, and then you have your outputs. So you could have from here you can just go crazy for whatever you want to do. A lot of times you would come here and then have an output to maybe another splitter. Let's say let's just say like a splitter, and then so this output could feed the input of this splitter, and then you could do another one. This is kind of, I don't want to get into like the whole building up of a fiber to home kind of thing, but something like this. So this would be your trunk cable coming out to distribution. So, and then from here, typically, these would be your single line outputs to let's see if we can just lock that up a little bit. So this would just be out to your houses, so you could somehow do whatever you want from that point. But it's just an idea of how you might want to set stuff up, and then you can always go back to your bed sheet and take a look and see how the whole thing's looking. So now we got a little bit, and as it gets bigger, you'll have to use your go, and then you can add cable colors, and so you can see it's starting to get some ideas here how this might work from a your output, trunk cable, distribution, and then drop cable outputs and things like this. Probably at this point, this would probably be where I might throw it into AutoCAD and start doing some stuff from there. But it would be up to you. Another thing that I want to show before I forget is you can easily delete these by just double clicking. I believe it's like that. If you just double click, it'll take them out. I believe you can do multiple. Like that, and you can hit delete. Same thing. So really easy to take stuff out if you don't like it on there. Moving along here, they have this default socket option in add socket. So you can choose whatever you want, but From what I understand, so if you want to add it, you can just do this and then add the socket and it does this. But then you're kind of, there's not much you can do here, other than you can choose your default socket and have a different connector type. From what I understand, it's basically a feature that hasn't been fully deployed yet, so there's not a lot you can do about it. So I was just gonna bring it to your attention and let you know that I think in future updates they're gonna maybe add patch cords or something like that. So future versions. We've hit most of the main major features on here. So here's a few other things you can do. There are you can color these sheets um, by changing the sheet's color. So you have that option. If they want to follow some kind of color code that you come up with, you have that option too. We come down here and see that, and then that would remain a different color. One great feature that there is that you can copy the whole sheet. I find it particularly useful if you're like this. We've already set this cable up and it's got the way we need it. So you could copy the sheet and then get rid of some of the parts that you don't want and keep what you do want on it. So to copy a sheet, notice that these sheets are actually, even though we haven't done anything on it, they are an actual sheet. So you can't copy to a sheet that is, you have to, basically what I'm trying to say is you have to go to a sheet that's all brand new. So you can do a couple of things here. You could remove the sheet, and then remove this sheet. And then if you did want to copy it right to this one, now you can. So once you click in it, you can do right click and then copy sheet, and then just move your mouse over and see you have this copy here, and now it's copying. And so it's duplicate. They're not connected in any way. So as I was saying, if you did want some of these items on here, you're more interested in just keeping this, so you can get rid of all these splices, for instance, and then you have to get rid of one at a time. There isn't like a, you can't like lasso everything here. That's not the way again. But if you wanted to get rid of this, move the splitter, move this splitter, move this splitter. And then you could come back to your bed sheet and you could have, so essentially you have the other end of the cable. Just kind of playing around here with ideas. So there is that option, just to kind of show you that you can move things around and whatnot. Another cool feature is this trace feature that they have. So for instance, if we start up here and pick this strand of fiber and then put a trace on it, and then went back to the bed sheets, you can kind of see how it's making everything glow through here. It's not exactly super duper bright, I guess you would call it, but you kind of see this bit of a glow, and that's you tracing the fiber. So you can see it comes from this sheet over to this sheet, hops over to this sheet, and then to this sheet, and then ends up over here. And then if you wanted more details, you can click on any given one, and you can see it. So it makes it, it's not like super easy to see, but you can tell where the fiber ends up. And a lot of times that can be nice to know where your destination is for fiber. And then when you're done, just make sure you hit untrace, and then you don't have that glowing anymore. There's a search function on this, so if you have a big, giant, complicated drawing, you could search out circuit names. You could find a page, for instance, page 51, like that, and see it highlighted it. So it lets us know that that's what we were searching for. I think we gave some things. We have this Pond 1 OLT. Let's see if I can find that for us. Here's an OLT. I'm trying to do something like Pond. It will give you, so it looks like it's general. So anyone that has Pond in it, it's going to give me the option to look at. See if I do Pond 88. Doesn't look like it now with the dollar force. Pond 88 is here, although it is also, it trails over to here. So it's just saying that the other sheets you could find it in. And looking over at the their wiki page, it does show. So here's the things that you can search right here. So those are the text options that you have available to you. I think I might have mentioned this earlier, but we do have the cable color, so you can color the cables by hitting this button right here. You got black and white, and you got color. One really nice feature they have on here is to be able to share, which is slightly different than the print, which we'll get to in a second. So you can either be in the sheet or you can select it from the bed sheet. So if you're looking at your entire project and you have presumably you're gonna have these labeled a little bit better, but we could say that this is zone 36, for instance. Let's see. Okay, and here, so we know that you have workers out in zone 36 today, and you want to send them the splice diagrams. So you just highlight the page, come on over here to share, and then share the sheet, and then click here, and it opens it up. So this is literally being opened up. This is a link that you can share. So up in the ULR bar, you can get the link. So if I like move this down like a little bit, you can see the URL right there. That's a shareable. You can copy that. You come over. Let's just go like in incognito mode. Come over here. So there it is. So there's no special being logged in or anything like that. That's a shareable link right there that you could send out to anybody, and they could pick that up and do it with it what they like. So view it on their phone. Just follow the link and open it up. Hopefully, what you send them is gonna make a lot more sense than our little scratch diagrams here, but hopefully you get the idea. Next thing is print. So you can, this gives you, probably most of the time you don't want to be working in the in the bed sheets. So since that's really getting a look at the big, so to speak, when you look at the bed sheet. So you can save it as a PDF. You can print it, save it as a PDF, export to a SVG. So that's kind of like a scalable graphic kind of thing. So JPEG-ish type of thing, so an image, or save as a PDF. So say we want to do this, save it as a PDF, and just hit save. Now here's the thing. You can have all kinds of options here for what you want to do here. The paper size. To try to get this, you have to do a little bit of playing around if you want this whole image. If you're printing it, you're probably gonna print it to a PDF and then package it from there. So you'll have to play with it a little bit, because obviously this is going to be difficult to get to, in sheets that look nice in a PDF. So, but you can play around with like your paper size and grab like an A4, which is going to give you different size papers. and it's going to show you. So like an A0 is it's gonna get everything onto one sheet. Obviously, though, it's going to be big. So that's something you'll have to work out in terms of if you want to just have this thing look good in like a PDF document, which probably isn't the way to go. You're going to have to be a little more creative. And one way to do that is so there's this scaling also that you can play around with and make it bigger, 100%, 50, and so zooming in. So you can play around with that. What I'm getting at is I'm just gonna save this thing to a PDF and open it up in AutoCAD. So let's do that. Let's come on over here to AutoCAD. So from AutoCAD, all you need is just drag in the PDF. It's gonna watch the prompt. So we put everything on one page, so we're good with that default page one. And then click your square. You can if you move your mouse a little bit, it's gonna make it bigger or smaller. You can take whatever you like and then hit enter. And then you see it brought everything in for us. So now what you do is you just select that like that, and it's going to give you import as objects. And then import all. And then we're just going to go up, unload what we don't want. And you can see it's doing it, did its thing. And so now we have them all in as objects. A little bit of housekeeping here. There comes in with this. You can just come along and get to it. So now you're at a point where you can play around with it a little bit more. And if you look at it in the layout view, you can see. So when you look at it in model space, you got this is 20, and then we don't really need to take that out because when you deal with it in layout view, it looks fine. So, and then from here, you have access to whatever you want. You could take these out if you wanted. You can grab this. You can move this guy around. So whatever you want. So it's all yours now to move things around and do what you want. One thing I forgot to do is you can colorize it as well. So I can do that real quick just to show you what it looks like. So when you're back in your print view like this, you just come over here and hit color cables, and then from there it's the same thing. You just save it. So it's going to remember the last place you were at. So if you just save it, just like we did, then I'll drag it over AutoCAD. You see, I got it in AutoCAD now, and it does have the colors. So those will follow as well. Now, one thing you can do when you're in the screen, the main screen here where you add your projects, you can do this and manage access, and then you can email another user, and the other user can log in. They'll have to have an account, and then they can use your project, and they can do what they want. So that's a pretty nice feature to have. That's how I've shared a few things back and forth. If you have a colleague who also has this software, that's kind of how you share the project, because there's no real, you can't really download this project um, and then send it to somebody. So this is basically how you would send it. Like if this was a DWG, like for AutoCAD, you would just download the DWG and send it to somebody. This is how you do it here. Except you don't download it, you just give them access to it. So you can grant them access, and then you can also withdraw their access as well. And as a, for instance, like here's a shared project that I actually shared with myself, but from another my account I had previously before I bought the paid version. So I created all this in my free account, and then when I created a full version and everything, I did it with my another email address and everything. So, but that it's easily shareable between the two, and it's all here. And so that pretty much wraps it up for the everything except for there is an Excel option that we should probably look at. That is kind of cool. So, for instance, if you wanted to put export this to a spreadsheet, you come into the sheet that you're interested in, and then when you come up to print, you can say current sheet, and then from there, you can say export to Excel like that, and so you'll get this, and then do this once again. It'll bring it into, and then you can go ahead and open it up in Excel. This is what it looks like. So you can, and from here, you can basically do with it what you want. I haven't used it. I suppose you could like play with it and insert more columns for instance. Let's see, we could insert, and then maybe we could put more like circuit data. This would be a good way to put in circuit data. Something like this certainly is a lot easier and put it in Excel. Like this, you could drag stuff down, stuff like that. So you have that auto numbering feature stuff with Excel. So that might be an idea if you're really want to do it from a spreadsheet point of view, or maybe it works better for storing your circuits or something like that. So just so you know that is an option. Real quick to wrap things up, there's two ways of looking at this. One would be to document your whole outside plant, and the other would be if you just want to draw a circuit out quickly for a technician. We pretty much looked at it from a total outside plant type of perspective, using high count fibers like 144, 432. The problem is those eat up a lot of real estate on the page, and if let's say if you have a scenario where there's other documentation for the plant, or maybe this can supplement the documentation that you already have, and you just need to get a circuit for a technician that goes from point A to point B, but you don't want to put in let's say you start here and you don't want to, so let's say it's a 432, goes through a couple pedestals, splice point, on, and then finally ends up at a building or something like that, and it's a 432 cable. Maybe it pairs down to 144, 48 as it heads from trunk to distribution to drop. That's a lot. If you just want to show somebody, hey, I just need it. Here's a quick circuit, and here's how you can build it out. And what you could do is look at it from a tubes only point of view. Now, unfortunately, they don't have a use for tubes beyond 1 through 12. So blue, orange, green, brown, up to rose, aqua, and then that's all they give you if you want to go ahead and put a tube in here, for instance. So they do have an options here, so you can come down here and find here like aqua, and then 12 and 12, so it's kind of your average. So that would be a tube. So let's say you're here, but the tube is, so this isn't actually, that's the aqua tube, but it's deep into a 432, so it's actually the aqua tube on the which would be the 30-second tube on a sorry, 36 tube on a 432. So what you could come here and so you can't change this one, but you do have the aqua part. But you could come here and say tube 36 plus aqua plus brittle. So that could be a way to denote it. And then let's see, this is over here to make things easier. And so that's another way you could do that and kind of build up. And so so then your next pedestal or something like this. Actually, the quick way to do this would be to take this and copy the sheet, so we can go in here, copy the sheet, and copy it here, and then once we get in it, we can bring this over here. And essentially, we've got a mirror image of that cable. So just quickly here, we can zoom in and see there. And then, so let's say this is the other end of the cable, and so we're in a splice box here, and now we're on another cable because we're on the violet. We're just randomly picking something. So I guess I grabbed blue, but that's fine. So let's just say it's the top of the 144. So this one's in good shape. So all I'm saying is you can keep splicing. So they're just building up a circuit here. This can go to like this, and then as long as you keep your labeling right, you can just look at it from a tube point of view, on out. So each time you cable breaks and splices to another one, you can just a tube by tube by tube by tube. Instead of taking all the time to draw it out, I'll just leave it to your imagination to see it, how that might work for you. You can come up to let's see, back and then to right. So you would end up with something like this for the technician to take out. But of course we're imagining this going further out. My point being is, instead of having 432 tubes all down here like this, you could just simply short like this by a single tube. That can help make things a little bit easier to understand, especially if it's getting sent out and somebody's on an iPad or something like that. It just very quickly gets them what they want. So hopefully that last little bit was helpful, and so go ahead, check out the product. It's free to test for 2 weeks. They have good support, so I highly recommend you take a look at it. And good luck, and go ahead and send them some money their way if it works for you. Thank you. Bye.